Hi, this is Erin from BlossyB. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to continue working with the Resin Moulds box, formerly Resin Moulds Express, October 2025 Moonlit Haunts subscription box. If you haven't yet watched part 1, I strongly recommend you do so first. In part 1, I created the stunning celestial tray, the wonderfully versatile chalice, and attempted some Halloween themed pumpkin decorations. In this video, I try making the pumpkins again, plus I use all of the rest of the moulds. The first moulds that I'm using today is this incredible set of 4 spiderweb style coasters and their cute little holding tray, and I've never made a mould like this before. I feel like I'm saying that all the time with these subscription boxes, which is great because it's exposing me to new ideas. And I've decided to adapt a technique that I've seen the lovely Claire from Claire's Crafty Corner use very successfully many times, and I think she calls it her chucking it all in technique. And I've got a bright orange and a bright green pigment powder, and then I've got this beautiful purple from the Solid Solutions Pearl Pigments range. And I do have a discount code for Solid Solutions, which I'll include in the description box below. I really want this design to look like graffiti, that sort of splattered art look, in Halloween colours, of course. And so I do exactly the same with this little tray. And now I'm using Just Resin's Purple Glow in the Dark powder. During this video, I'm going to try using this in 2 different ways. The first time now, I'm going to mix it with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to try and mix all of it's a little bit gritty. It's not a fine powder. It's a grittier sort of a feel than mica powder, for example. So I'm just mixing that together with some alcohol to get it into sort of a smooth paste. And then I'm going to add in some beautiful crystal clear River Art Deep Pour resin. And I'm going to blend all of that together. And because it's the first time I've ever used glow in the dark powder, I'm a bit confused because it says it's purple, but it's not looking purple. So I did have to do a quick Google search just to reassure myself. It changed my plan as well because for some reason I thought that it was going to actually look purple all the time, not just under the light. I'm sorry if I sound so naive. It's just honestly the first time. So rather than filling them to the brim, I decided to just pour a fairly thin coat, covering the bottom and securing all of those powders. And then I'm going to go in and give them a final colour back coat once this is cured. Before I started pouring the resin, I give each of the pieces a really good spray of isopropyl alcohol because that is the technique I've seen Claire using, and I believe it sort of activates the pigment powders and also keeps them in place rather than being just loose particles. They're damp from the alcohol, and of course the alcohol evaporates during all of this process as well. So they didn't take a lot of resin, and because I only wanted that thin layer, it was even less than it normally would be. But I did have a little bit left over, and I'm so sorry I cannot find where I filmed the next part. But after doing the coasters, I thought, I wonder I'm going to pour some of the little ghost moulds. And then I thought I'm going to do half just with exactly the same mixture. But then I'm going to add some of that beautiful purple Sin Star mica powder to the other half and see what happens if you tint a glow-in-the-dark powder with mica powder to see if it will still actually shine in the dark. So you'll see that I poured half of the regular mixture and half of the purple, and then I also poured some just regular, not glow in the dark, little purple turtles and butterflies. This is about 12 hours later, so the resin hasn't completely set, but it's definitely in a gel state, which is enough for me to add the next layer. Now, you might have seen a previous video where I had a bad experience with my user error with black pigment paste. So I decided for this one I was just going to use a black mica powder, and it's just an Anko brand, and some black glitter, and I'm going to blend those together with some more of the River Art Resin Deep Pour, and then I'm going to just carefully try and give these a backing. Now I say carefully because these are quite detailed moulds with all of the cutouts, and I don't really want to get to a situation where I have lots and lots and lots of cleaning up and deburring and everything afterwards. So I'm just going to pour right into the middle of each of the little spider web coasters and give the resin time to work its way through to the edge. I must say I'm loving how dramatic these are looking. That spider web pattern with the black going to the edges is gorgeous. The little holder up the top right, I do make a bit of a judgment error with filling that. The little white pieces of silicone definitely need to be exposed, and I did go in a little bit later and make sure I cleaned them off so that when I demold it, it's quite a clean demold. I thought it might have been covered in. Okay, next molds. We've got these two beautiful little ribbon and bow trinket tray molds. Now, I'm going to be using these chrome pens. They're sort of a squishy brush that has chrome on the end. It's hard to explain. I'll try and find similar ones and link them in the materials that I use. And the other weird thing that I'm doing with the tape and the pen is that I thought I'd try and protect this middle section from any little fragments of the chrome powder that might get onto that middle section by putting some tape down. In the end, I don't think I really needed to, but it definitely worked, and it's something I'd do again if I'm, doing something a bit messier. So I've got 5 of these cushion chrome pens, I think they're called, and they're varying colours, and I've just decided I want these frames to look very old and almost tarnished, and I'm going to go in and use different colours in different sections, but I'm not going to be aiming to colour all of the details. I just really want to get little bits and pieces of colour, and the idea will be that when I do fill this, it will, as I mentioned, have that sort of look of an old patina to it. As I'm starting to work on this smaller of the two moulds, I start realising that this would actually make a super cute photo frame. In fact, it looks more like a photo frame than a Trinket dish. So I'm going to tuck that thought away for the future. And if you do end up getting this mould yourself, and I will put all the links to the individual moulds that I can into the description box, just keep that one in mind, that it could actually work out to be quite a sweet little photo frame. The bows on this are obviously quite detailed, but again, I'm just skimming over them with the chrome cushion powders. It's hard to explain. So inside the tip, there is colour, and it's got a little sponge on the end, and every time you take them in and out, a little bit more of the pigment gets onto that sponge tip. So I hope I'm explaining it okay. Now I decided to use some temporary tattoos to embellish these, and continuing with our Halloween theme, I want these to look a little bit witchy and a little bit sort of celestial, and also a little bit old world. And so I've gone through my temporary tattoos, and I've found these beautiful metallic temporary tattoo sets, and these ones feature gold with navy blue. And because I've used a navy blue in the chrome powders there, I think this will match perfectly. So as usual, when you're using temporary tattoos, the most important thing is to remove the clear plastic cover from the tattoo prior to laying it down. Then you just take a sponge and wet the back of the tattoo, and you'll notice with both of them, you'll just get to a point where you're dab, 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 and then all of a sudden it starts sliding a little bit, and that's how you know that your tattoo is ready to have the backing removed from it. And they both came out beautifully. I decided I'd like to add just a little bit extra embellishment to these, and so I get some gold foil, and I'm just literally breaking off the teeniest, tiniest little pieces, and then using a cotton tip or my finger to press them into just different areas around the mould, so that they will add a little bit of a highlight, a little bit of sparkle, and just a continuation of that gold theme. I did end up using a little makeup brush as well to help apply the gold foil, and I think my number one tip with foil like this is to try and separate it into single sheets as much as you can. Often when you buy a jar of this is from Just Resin, it comes quite packed together. So this is about an hour later, and I've got Cobalt Crush, Cobalt Dream, and Metallic Silver. These again are beautiful pigments from Solid Solutions, and I'm going to measure out a little cup of each of these, and using the River Art Deep Pour Resin, and I'm going for like a dirty pour almost, just a bit of a blended swirl. I'm happy for the resin to do whatever it wants to do, but these are the colours that I'm hoping will end up looking really pretty together. This was so much fun to pour because there's just no rules. It just was a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit of the silver grey, and then just the rest of this beautiful blue. And so it was a lovely little project to work on, and resin moves and it shrinks as it cures, so I made sure that I do have it slightly domed so that upon demould I won't have too many sharp edges. I also use a small little plastic tool just to run around the edges and make sure that there's no bubbles in under the lip, particularly of the larger of the two trays, and that also there is hopefully a good coverage of resin in all of those detailed areas. Now I'm going to move on to the two cute little owls, and I've decided to do almost identical With the pigments, I'm going to use another 3 colours from Solid Solutions, but this time we're going for a different colour palette. I'm using Sinstar Gold, Dusty Rose and Reflective Rust, and these 3 colours to me bring to my mind a beautiful rusty looking owl. I just have this vision in my head, so I hope I can carry it out. I just take a small amount of the pigment powder and pop it into a small cup and then add the River Art resin, and I go ahead and do that for each of the 3 colours and making sure that I'm blending in the powder completely. And I'm also going to be using some clear resin as I pour as well. So I'm going to layer in all of the colours, just taking it in turns going through and using the clear as a 4th colour. These types of moulds do carry with them the risk of trapped bubbles, so after I get to a certain point I start giving them a little move around just to make sure that there is resin going into the beak and the wings. I gave them a generous spray of isopropyl alcohol before I poured the resin, and then I do that again at different stages throughout just to try and minimize the chance of getting bubbles trapped in. I use this resin specifically because it is such a low bubble resin, and deep pour resins, which you definitely need if you've got a volume like this, you really do get lots of time for that resin to release any air that may be trapped. Okay, so just scraping out the last few little bits and making sure that they are topped up before moving on to my next project. I've made such a mess here, but you just wait. What's the saying? You ain't seen nothing yet. Oh boy. Anyway, next project is a redo of the pumpkin decoration moulds. So first of all, I'm going to use the teeny little bit of resin left over from these 4 pieces, and I'm mixing in some gorgeous glitter and a little bit of the glue to try and make sure that the glitter resin mix stays exactly where I leave it. And do you see what I just did? I'll replay it for you because it was pretty impressive. Yes, I tipped over one of the owls and almost all of the resin dripped out onto my work surface, and then off that, thank goodness, onto the pet silicone mat that I had underneath. And it was so bad that I just decided to leave it. It was beyond cleaning up. I thought, look, just leave it for 24 hours. It'll cure and hopefully I can peel it off the silicone. I was pretty annoyed with myself because it meant that I needed to redo the owl. So I'm just going through with this little mixture of this beautiful glittery resin and doing as much as I can of this little pumpkin mould, and if I can't fill one up altogether, I'm just putting a few little dabs in. Now I do still want to try and have the owl look very similar to its pair, and I go ahead and make up all the colours the same as before and mix it carefully, and then I'm just going to try and recreate what I had and see how it turns out. The main goal for me at the moment is to not knock this over again. That would be my strong preference. So I've got to work a little bit smarter, and I've also got to just remember where everything is on my leveling table. So what I'm going to do now is take some clear resin, pop in some of this gorgeous bright orange pigment mica powder and then add in this absolute deliciously gorgeous chunky glitter that's a real dark orange sort of autumny colour. And then I've popped in a little bit of the Elmer's glue just so that I don't have all of the glitter sinking. And I'm going to finish filling up this mould and just loving the look of it. Okay, now it is time to do some demoulding, which is very exciting. So firstly, I'm going to take out the little turtles. Now these are not glow in the dark. These are just plain purple, that gorgeous Sinstar purple from Solid Solutions, and they are looking really pretty, and the same with the little butterflies. But then when I get to the ghosts, if you remember, half of them are done with the clear resin just mixed with the purple glow in the dark powder, and then the other half are that mixture plus some of the Sinstar purple, because I really don't know how these are going to turn out. I don't know if you can add a mica powder colour to a glow in the dark powder, whether that will cancel it out somehow. Anyway, these ghosts are looking super cute. I'm not actually sure what I'm going to do with them yet. I was thinking maybe to keep them for a larger project, or I might even just turn some of them into some charms or jewellery, but super cute. Some of them are sort of like a spooky sort of a spirit ghost, and others are just little cute ghosties. Okay, now I'm so excited to start demoulding this coaster tray set and stand. So first of all, I'm going to have a look at the tray, and I'm just totally in love with it. It's exactly what I was going for. I just love how that technique that I was inspired to try after watching Claire from Claire's Crafty Corner, it just looks so gorgeous with these colours, a real sort of a Halloween graffiti. And here's our first spiderweb coaster. Now, if you're going to make these yourself with this mould, my top tip would be very careful filling the mould, because if you look really closely, you'll see I do have lots of teeny tiny little pieces of resin that are just popping out from the back, and they are so easy to remove, as you'll see in a moment. Most of them, I just touch them with a craft blade and they just flake off completely. But there is a fair bit of it to do, and it does probably take me a good 5 minutes. So as you'll see here, it's just a matter of turning upside down. I think you can get a really good look at it here. So these are just little drips of resin that when I poured in the middle, I must have poured a little bit too fast, and so it settled onto the top of the mould. And if I'm very careful next time, I think I could avoid these. So I'm not going to show you the entire cleanup, but as I said, it was really easy. It just was a little bit time consuming. Just before I show you the next demoulding, I want to show you my silicone mat that I have on my workspace. This is a pet eating mat, and that big splodge is where all of this was. And look, I trapped 2 of my chrome pens in there. Oh dear. So that was the spill, returning to the scene of the crime. But it's not too bad. I am able to get the chrome markers off fairly easily, and I'm also able to use this resin at some stage in the future, either as a filler or maybe I'll make some stunning art out of it. But I just thought I'd show you that because it was quite interesting, and I'm extremely grateful that I had this amazing mat with the lip all around it underneath my levelling table. Otherwise, that would have been my kitchen table. Oh dear. Let's get on to the demoulding though. And first of all, we're going to have a look at the second batch of the Halloween pieces that I've poured this time. And they are definitely better. I really was not happy with the last ones that's in the previous video, and these certainly don't have any of the big issues that those did. So this time I was much more careful about leaving these cavities open. I'd made a few little discs as well with leftover resin, and now I'm very excited to have a look at the first of the owls. And I've got high hopes but low expectations. So it was much easier to demould this once I realised you could actually tug on the ridges on the outside, and that actually reduced the suction of the silicone up against the resin. And here we go. And I just love this. The colours are exactly what I was going for. It's a really subtle blend of those colours, but I'm super happy with it. Just, yeah, really happy. Now we're going to get a little look at his partner in crime, and yeah, look at that. These are such detailed moulds. I have had an owl mould in the past and it just wasn't a very pretty owl. These are stunning. Time to have a look at our ribbon and bow trinket trays. So the first one I'm demoulding is the little oval, and I just think this is adorable. So the temporary tattoo came out really well, and I'm also loving all of the little added, little chrome colours and things around the edges. And this is the larger of the two now. And the bow, you realise when you're demoulding, it's actually a very chunky piece of the mould. And wow, again, just really pretty. The different colours have all blended together well. So I was very happy with this particular pour, but now I'm looking at these pieces, I'm starting to think I'd like to add to them just a little bit. The beauty of using temporary tattoos is that you can actually apply them to the silicone mould, as I did beforehand, or you can apply them to cured resin. And so I'm going now through all of my temporary tattoos again, the gold ones, and I'm trying to pick little pieces that I can actually cut out and add all around the outside of these main temporary tattoos. And some of them are from the same sheets, some of them I've just taken teeny tiny little bits, but I won't show you all of it. I'll fast forward and we'll get to the end, and then you'll see the design I ended up using. But I will just say that all of this is done very carefully, taking off the plastic top coating before laying the pieces down, using a damp sponge, waiting for the piece to move, and then removing the backing. And a couple of times I put a piece down that I wasn't happy with. I really didn't like the look of it, and it was really easy to remove it. I just used my nail and then a little cloth, and I think I used a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on one as well. And it was really easy to just clean that off and start over until I had a pattern that I was really happy with. So lots of little bits cut everywhere, and also there were lots of larger pieces that I just snipped little tiny pieces of. So don't ever be afraid to do that, to cut down a larger temporary tattoo into smaller, more useful, manageable pieces for you. So I'll whiz through all of this, I'll show you what I ended up with, and then we can move on with the next step with embellishing these pieces. I think they look a lot more interesting now. Yay! Okay, these are the gorgeous little 3D puffy stickers that Ella included in the box, and I'm just choosing some and going through, taking them off the backing and placing them onto these little discs, which are going to become fridge magnets. And it's not a very complicated thing. It was just sometimes hard to choose. There were so many cute little decals there, and I just needed to also make sure that they fitted on. Some were a little bit bigger and wouldn't have fitted on, but it was a very easy and quick process to finish these with the little Halloween designs. Once they're done, it's time to do something I didn't think I'd ever do. I am running a pedicure session for resin owls. So I'm just using a Posca pen in black, and it's a 1MR, which is the little fine tip, and I'm just going over his little claws, and then I'm going to do the eyes and the beak, and I'm doing that for both of them, and I think that it really makes those features stand out. And this is just adding to it. I don't normally do this actually with any animals or anything like that I make, but for this one I just felt he needed that, or they needed that little bit of extra with the black, especially because it's Halloween. I think it made them look very handsome and very serious indeed. Okay, I'm going to now add a top coat of clear resin to the 2 Trinket trays. I did let them dry completely, and then I've just mixed up this River Art Resin Deep Pour because it's absolutely crystal clear, glossy, no bubbles, and I drizzle a little bit into each of them, hoping that it will actually just spread out and self-level, and it mostly does do that. So this is just a final little coat to seal in the temporary tattoos. I don't want to take away any of the depth of either of the dishes, so it's just that thin coat all over the top. Next, I'm going to take the exact same resin, but this time I'm going to use a pipette because I really need to be very accurate, and I'm just going to dot some resin around each of these 3D puffy stickers. I don't want to go over the top of them at all. I just want to give the surface a gorgeous glossy top coat, which in turn will also permanently adhere the sticker to the resin. And I'm just going in with this little Halloween decoration down the bottom, the one with the witch's hat. I didn't realise until afterwards that this mouth, the teeth were made of letters, and in both of the times that I made this, they didn't come out really well. So you'll see in a minute what I'm going to do with it, but I did want to make sure that I put some clear resin in there, and also a couple of little dots into the eyes of the cat, or the cats, sorry. There's 3, aren't there? And then you'll see what I'm going to do with those also. So it did take a little bit of time to do these little magnets with the glossy top going all around the stickers, but I think it was well worth that time. To help finish off the little Halloween pieces, I wanted to use some black resin, and I decided to just use a black glitter rather than mixing any pigment in, because I wanted it to look quite sparkly and a very deep dark colour. And so what I'm going to do is carefully go in and add this to the cutouts that don't go all the way through. So some of the cutouts in these are completely all the way through, and others have a little piece of resin on the back, and it's obvious that it's, you know, you can colour these in. So I'm just going to go through and try and do that super carefully. It wasn't as easy as I was hoping it was going to be, and I did make a little bit of a mess. Tried to clean it up, but we'll see what you think at the end. I'm really happy with how the fridge magnets turned out. Super glossy, and those little stickers are not going anywhere anytime soon. And these are the pieces. I ended up popping some rhinestones and some glitter onto them. I've given the cats some little eyes and tried to just, you know, make them sparkle a little bit more. And here is the absolute gorgeous pair of Trinket trays. These are the bow and ribbon ones, and they just look so shiny and beautiful, very tactile, and I'm loving all of the extra little embellishments. I think though what I'm most excited to show you, in fact ridiculously excited, is my glow in the dark pieces. So here they all are. Now I bought this black torch, UV torch from eBay, and I'll pop the link in the description box. And I'm just going through and I guess charging up the pieces by running the torch over them, and then I'm going to turn the light out and we'll have a look and see if they do indeed glow in the dark. And oh, look at that! I'm so excited. They really, really are glow in the dark. So I was very, very happy to do that. I'm just doing a few little experiments here to see what happens if you actually sit the torch onto the resin, and I've noticed that it absolutely activates it very quickly. And yeah, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this torch, and I don't think this is going to be the last time that I use glow in the dark. How cool does this set of coasters look in their stand with that fluorescent glow in the dark? Oh, just think these are gorgeous. I can just imagine these on a table if you were having a spooky Halloween treat of an evening somewhere. I love this mould. This box was such a treat. I'm totally in love with the owls. I think they're just absolutely beautiful. Can't wait to make more of them. I think the Trinket trays are stunning, and I think they've got possibilities to be used for like a little photo frame or even for Christmas ornaments. Just all sorts of possibilities there. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2 of this unboxing of the Moonlit haunts. Beautiful moulds from Resin Moulds box. Couldn't be happier with these. Just loving all of it. And the last little photo, these are the little Trinket trays I've set up with some jewellery and some beautiful irises that a friend gifted me, and I think it all just looks very a little bit witchy, a little bit celestial, and a lot gorgeous. All of the links and the discount code for you will be in the description box below. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.